What's up, idols? It's CC Lesson 3. Welcome back to my channel. Y'all see these? I did them myself. So if y'all see me doing this a lot, like this, that's why. So today's video is different. It's a story time, but it's kind of getting back to roots. It's more about like my story time. Lately we've been sharing a lot of stories from other people who send them in. 정말 감사합니다. But it is very important for me to feel like I'm still talking about myself and being personal and vulnerable and honest with you guys. So there are two reasons I'm making this video. One, I got a DM on Discord from a channel member who said, yo, what's up, CC? How do you plan to celebrate your anniversary? I was like, what anniversary? And he said, you broke up with London shit a year ago, right? That was my ex. Y'all knew him as London Bae because he didn't want y'all to know his name, and for obvious reasons we come to find out later. But I was like, oh shit, like yeah, it's been a full year. We broke up last October. And it's always good to reflect and talk about like, here's me a year later. Here's what I learned from this. Don't make the same mistakes I did. And another reason, I met up with a friend recently and we hung out, had a great time. And I know over the summer she went through a really bad breakup. And she told me she was going through and she was rewatching like my breakup video because it helped her see that she wasn't alone. Like you can break up with somebody and be better off for it. And you know, it made me feel really happy that my content made something like that easier for somebody. Because of course, when you're not in the situation, it's so easy to be like, oh my God, just leave. And based on what she was telling me, I was like, oh my God, girl, just leave. Like she said, he was mean to her. He insulted her a lot. He made her feel bad about herself. He was very belittling, gaslighting, manipulating. I was like, girl, leave. And of course that's easy to say because I'm not in a relationship. I was in this very same situation a year ago. So yeah, I figured we would make a 1 year anniversary video where I talk about what it's been like since and spill a little bit of extra tea. As usual, please watch this video to the very end. It helps leave a good impression on the algorithm. Engage with the video, drive with the engagement, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment for the algo, for the watch, for the engagement.
For the watch. For the watch. For the watch. For the watch.
I just love these, they're so fun. Binge my playlists, they're all put together for you. And thank you so much to my channel members as always. Also turn on the notifications because boy, the next upload is gonna be a blast from the past. Later this week, a certain fuckboy Korean rapper makes another appearance on this channel, unfortunately. But it'll be funny, I think. So, into this video. First, I'm gonna do my best to give a brief timeline because a lot happened in the year that I was with him. Then I'll respond a little bit, you know, how I felt and how I feel about those emotions that have been processed a whole year later, as well as kind of react to some of the hate I got. And you know, I knew I would get a lot of hate for that video because I wasn't trying to present myself to be a good person. I wasn't necessarily trying to make him be the bad guy, and I think I might have been too nice to him. Most people, I think, understood like it was a very unfortunate situation. I was not seeking sympathy. That's why I was not sad in the video at all. I was just trying to finally get this weight off my shoulders and tell y'all what's been going on. And yes, there is going to be a little bit of extra tea spilt. Some things that video was an hour long. You can only post and talk about but so much in one video, and I didn't want to make this be like a series. So first, in summer of 2021, and me and my friend Erin were gonna move together in LA and be roommates and single girls in the city type of thing. And as we were looking for rent and all that, I'm like, oof, I'm not gonna have a lot of extra money to do other things I want to do. So before we move in together, I really want to take a solo trip to London because I was listening to a lot of Roddy Ricch and he made me feel some type of way. That is my boy. I highly recommend his music. Check him out. He's Grey Worm from Game of Thrones. A lot of you might know him more from that. So yeah, I got to London. I made plans to meet up with 3 girls. Other than that, I was by myself and I was just kind of doing my own thing. So I did go on dating apps and I did put in my bio, I'm only here for 3 weeks. I'm looking for someone to show me around. But there was one guy who you knew as London Bae, but again, now he's London shit, apparently. We started to hang out, and I know it was too fast. Obviously, everything is always clearer when you look back, like, wow, that was dumb. But in the moment, I was caught up in the moment, and when he's like, you know, you should move here to London, like, you should live here with me, like, we could be in a relationship together. I was just like, oh, well, you do seem like a really nice guy, and most guys these days just want to smash and they don't actually care about getting to know you, and you do, you make that effort. And the bar was really low for me. The bar still is pretty low for me. So I agreed, you know, everything just felt right. My friends were supportive, my family was supportive, but again, this is before we all knew everything. You know, you can't put a timeline on when it's right to move in together or get married or whatever. You can know somebody for 3 weeks, get married, and be happy together for 30 years, you know? You could know someone for 10 years and say, let's get married, and then get divorced the next. You just never know. And honestly, with my situation, like I'm a YouTuber, I didn't have to like change jobs in different countries. I didn't have to like, oh, I gotta give up my apartment because we were in the process of looking for an apartment. So it wasn't really too much that I had to like okay, this is a big commitment, you know, if it didn't work out, I could just leave. So I had the mindset from last week's story time to do it for the plot. I was just like, just go with the flow, let's see what happens. Worst case scenario, you can just pack up and leave and you can
Run.
But yeah, so for those initial 3 weeks that I bought a round trip ticket and everything, I was not planning to stay in London. He happened to be like a 7-minute walk from my hotel, and to me this was the stars aligning, that this was just meant to be. So we spent a lot of time together. When he would finish work, we'd go out for dinner, we'd go for walks and talks and sit in the park and just get to know each other. He was living in a flat share that was like a 7-minute walk from where my hotel was. And you know, we asked each other normal questions like, do you want kids? How would you feel about somebody having kids? What was your most recent relationship like? Tell me about your worst relationship. Tell me about your best relationship. What do you look for in a guy and a girl? You know, those typical conversations of when you're getting to know somebody. So my rate, nothing was like abnormal to me then, but it's so clear now. For one, he was not very interested at all in talking about his ex. Like, he told me so little about her. There were so many signs that something was not right, but I was caught up in the romance of it all and I ignored those signs. We'll get all into that soon. So in October of 2021, we moved into an Airbnb together. We decided, oh, let's do a 1-month trial of living together and see what it's like to wake up next to the same person, to see if you clean, see if you do this, if you snore, if you leave the toilet seat up, you know, all those things that people argue about when they live together. And of course, since it was only a month, everything was absolutely perfect. So at the end of November, we moved into an apartment. Now, the apartment hunting process was actually really tame and pretty easy and quick the first time around. And it was funny because I was like, all right, I'm moving to London. I want to live in London. This is the excitement. This is a new city. I want to get to know better. He wanted to live in the outskirts where it was more affordable, where, you know, it's not as much to do, but we can commute into London. Obviously now I know why he didn't want to be in London. I didn't at the time. So I was pretty adamant and persistent about wanting to be in London. I was like, I want to stay in London. So we found a brand new apartment. Very convenient. It was right by the train station. It was a short walk distance from all the shops it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. And the lease was for a year. It's funny telling this now because there was so much I didn't know back then. So a few more weeks go by and he couldn't go back to Japan for Christmas because COVID was really strict and that was the height of Omicron and everybody was freaking out about Omicron. So I was like, well, I'm going home for Christmas because ever since Korea, I have made a promise, I will always go home for Christmas. So I was like, you know, you could come with me if you don't want to spend Christmas here by yourself. He was like, oh, I have to think about it. And it didn't take long. He actually agreed and we booked our tickets to go to Maryland for Christmas. So now we're in mid-December, about 2 weeks before we fly out to Maryland to meet my fam. I suddenly got a DM from a girl on Instagram. It was a picture of a man, a woman, and a baby. And yeah, I'm using my nails a lot. You're so cute, I'm sorry. And it said he's married. All it said was he's married with a picture. And I just started laughing because y'all, I am not over exaggerating when I say we spent every day, all day, for those 3 months together constantly. He was working from home and it was COVID, so we weren't going out a lot. It got to the point where I used to tell him like, you should go hang out with your friends because we were together all the time, all day, every day. So to suddenly find out that your boyfriend is married and has a daughter, I was in shock. I started to laugh. I was like, oh, that's Photoshop. And he's like, what's so funny? So I showed him and he reluctantly, oh, okay, I need to talk to you. And of course he made it seem like the divorce was right around the corner and it was only being held up because of COVID and the courts were like slow at processing everything. So he made it seem like, oh, this will be finalized in a matter of moments and we'd go back to normal, whatever normal was, because let's be real, this isn't going to be normal anymore. I know now what you're capable of hiding. So there is no more normal. I did not trust him. And I told him, I was like, I don't trust you anymore. I just want to be completely honest with you about that. I do not trust you. And it was weird because I would ask him questions about his kid. Like, what's her name? When's the last time you saw her? What does she like to do? What is she like? He did not want to talk about her, and that should have been a clear red flag. In the comments of that first video, people told me that we were faking our relationship. We were pretending to be happy and perfect. How was it fake? I stayed in this situation because my dumb ass was in love. It was not fake. And seeing a few videos of us happy online does not mean we were pretending to be perfect. Like, yes, we were happy sometimes, and there were times we weren't happy. Like, should I vlog and make videos mid-argument? Like, we did love each other, but one thing I definitely learned is love is not enough. Y'all have no idea how bad I wanted to make a video right then and there, like, oh, I gotta tell the world, I gotta tell all my viewers that you hid this from me. I wanted y'all to know instantaneously because, for one, hello, the views. Obviously, the views on something like that would be astounding because it was such a ridiculous situation. But on top of that, I was so angry with him and I knew you guys would help me drag him. So I wanted that. It's like, do you guys watch Catfish? I'm gonna be referencing Catfish a lot because I've been watching a lot of Catfish lately. One thing I like about Catfish is Neve, Max, and Cammy, like whenever the Catfish confesses and they're confronted in person, they let them have it, and the person just kind of sits there like, yeah, no, yeah, you're right, I fucked up, I'm sorry. And I wanted him to have that moment, not just for me, but from y'all too. But he was like, you know, it's my personal information, my personal details, I really would rather you not put it out there. And I was stupid, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll protect your feelings and respect that, even though you didn't respect me, but I'm gonna respect you and not tell anybody about it. I felt like I was going crazy by not telling people about this. I did tell a few of my channel members, like they were the first people to ever know about this. And you know, that night when I found out, I was crying and I called Aaron and Brie. I was like, hey, he lied to me. So for a few months, life started to go back to normal, whatever normal was, this new normal anyway. And it was good-ish until like the end of March/April. That's when I started to see like unpaid bill notices and everything. Now, like I said originally, he paid most of the rent and I contributed. Like I asked him how much he would need from me, how much should I contribute, and he gave me a pretty low number, and I was like, are you sure that's all you need from me? He's like, yeah, I got it. I was like, shit, all right. Like we split groceries. Whenever we went out to eat or to the movies, for the most part, he paid for him, I paid for me. Sometimes I treat him, sometimes he treat me. But I made it adamant that I never wanted to be like another burden for him. Like I never wanted to be like, oh my God, like we're going to the movie and you're making me pay for me. You know what I mean? Because he had a lot of problems and I did not want to contribute to that. I had to ask him, I was like, what is a council tax, by the way? Because I don't know London, like I didn't know that was a thing, and I just saw that he wasn't paying it. I didn't know what it was. I was like, do you need more money from me to help you cover this? He's like, don't worry about it. I get a bonus at the end of the month. I'll use that to pay it. I'm like, okay. So it was becoming quite clear that he didn't have it. He wasn't put together like he made himself out to be. And you know, when we first met, I saw him do something stupid where he was trying to get into modeling as like a side gig, and it was in October. He went to some sketchy modeling agency, you know, those types where it's on Instagram and it's like, we want you, we're looking for models age 16 to 30. So we went to this sketchy ass building. It looked like an unfinished apartment in like an industrial district. Like it was like gates, and it was weird. I was just like, fuck. And I know one person who does modeling, and I messaged her and I was like, this is weird, right? Like I don't know shit about modeling, but I asked her, I was like, this is unnormal, right? They don't ask you for money at first. I heard Tyra Banks say that before, that if you're ever trying to get into modeling and they need money from you up front, it's not legit. So I kept telling him that, but he wanted to believe, you know, oh yeah, you know, they really like me. They say I'm really good. They say I'm a natural. Of course they're gonna say that. So I watched him drop 1,200 pounds for a portfolio, a Z card, and they were supposed to represent him and all that. So that was in October. From October to our breakup, he probably got like 3 or 4 gigs as an extra. And I think they paid like 80 pounds. One was like 160. It didn't come close to reimbursing him for the 1,200 he put up. So in my mind, if he can just throw away 1,200 on a whim, good for you. Like, I'm not gonna tell you how to spend your money. I wouldn't. If it was me, you asked my advice, I wouldn't do it, but good for you. Like, he made it seem like he had it. He was just irresponsible, that's all it was. So like us moving into this apartment that he could not afford just fed into that. I'm like, wow, you're really an unresponsible dude. Like, I had no idea. You seem so put together. When we first started to look for an apartment together, the reason he wanted to be in the outskirts is because it's more affordable. But I didn't know he was dealing with paying for a divorce, paying for a mortgage, we're gonna get into that part, and also paying child support. Like, I had no idea he had all these other financial obligations. It was all so preventable, and that's why this is so like funny to me. So yeah, about the mortgage. Apparently he was living in a flat share when I met him because his wife had like kicked him out, changed the locks, and wouldn't let him back home. But since the mortgage was in his name, if he stopped paying it, then that would backfire in his credit and all that stuff, and default and foreclosure, all that stuff. She wasn't paying anything. She's like, I'm not paying and I dare you to do anything about it because it's gonna backfire on you in the end anyway. So she wasn't paying for that. So he was paying for a mortgage, paying for child support, paying most of our rent as well, and paying for a divorce. And I was none the wiser. And then it was also around April, the normal started to end, when he told me for the summer he was gonna go back to Japan and stay with his parents in Tokyo to save up some money again. I was like, well, yeah, that's cool and great, but what the fuck am I supposed to do? Because I dropped everything to move to London. And I was always very honest with him about the resentment I had for him, because no matter whatever happened in our relationship, it was built on a lie. It was started with a lie. So even if it did work out, you still lied to me. If it falls apart, yeah, that's because you lied to me. Like, that's just the way I saw it. And I was very honest with him about how much I resented him, especially when the lie became more relevant in our lives and more detrimental to our relationship. That just made it just fester, and it just made me hate him even more. I remember on my birthday, a part of the normal ending, he pre-booked like this O2 thing. The O2 is like this big dome arena shopping area in London, and you can actually climb over it, and it looks pretty cool. And he prepaid for that, he booked that. I will give him credit for that. So before that, we went to brunch because I love brunch. I don't know why, I know it's a cliche, girls love brunch, I do love brunch. And he was supposed to treat me for brunch because it was my birthday. His card declined, so I paid for us. I paid for me and him. I did not complain, I didn't, because I knew he felt bad. It was very clear he felt bad about that. Then we did the O2, we were having fun, and I wanted to get like drinks and go to a rooftop bar, so we did that. I paid for our drinks and I paid for our snacks. And then after that, we went to a Van Gogh exhibit, and I paid for that too. I just want y'all to keep this in mind, that this is what happened on my birthday, because he's gonna bring up birthdays around the breakup. So it was becoming more and more clear that he was in like financial ruin, and I think that led to his emotional ruin as well. You guys saw like my videos last year. For the whole summer, I was in Korea with Bria. We were chilling in Jeju, having fun, making the most of a weird situation. He was in Tokyo, and it was our thinking that, okay, at least we're still in the same time zone, and maybe once things ease up with restrictions, you can come see me in Korea, or I can go see you in Japan. That never worked out. Like, the COVID restrictions were still very strict between the two countries. So like, the more time I spent away from him, I just kept like replaying everything about our relationship. And like, early on when we met and we were in the park talking, just thinking about like, wow, he really asked me, like, cause personally, the reason I don't want to date someone with kids is because, rightfully so, when you have a child, your child is your priority, and that's how it should be. I don't want to compete with a child, but I'm also selfish. Like, if I'm dating you, I want your time. I want as much of your time as possible. And I also said that, you know, at the time I was 28, I'm 30 now, I do know that the older I get, the less likely it is that I'll find a man who does not have a child. And another reason why I feel that way about like a person who already has kids, if we do ever get to that stage in life where we decide to have children, I don't want to be baby mama number 2. I would like to give my partner their first child, ideally. And I remember all he said was, okay, yeah, cool, that makes sense. He didn't say, okay, so I gotta tell you something, I do have a kid. Nope. He just said, oh yeah, that makes sense, and we changed the topic. He chose not to tell me because he knew that I would not stay. And not only that, when I talk about like the gaslighting and manipulation, whenever I was upset and I would bring up, because I brought it up a lot, you know, how I felt lied to and how I felt like I didn't want to be in that situation. We talked about that a lot. Pretty much every argument we had led back to this. And I remember saying, well, put yourself in my shoes. Imagine if I was like, babe, come move to the States to be with me, come live with me, just come over here, change your life, come over here and be with me. And as soon as you got here, you found out that from my husband that I was married and had a kid. He was like, well, I would try to be understanding about it because I know you probably had a good reason for not telling me.
What did he say?
And of course that's easy to say because you put me in that situation, so you're not gonna admit to your wrong, you know what I mean? And another thing, when we first moved into that apartment together, the lease was for a year, so I thought we were gonna be in that place for at least a year. I did not know there was a 6-month clause, so he had like an exit strategy. He knew that we could leave after 6 months, and he had to know that this wasn't gonna work out because I was only in the UK on a tourist visa, and at the time, you know, I had 6 months and we had 6 months to figure it out. I'm like, I don't want to start studying again for a student visa. I don't want to get married just for a marriage visa, and good luck getting a work visa post-Brexit during pandemic COVID times. Like, that was not happening. So he's like, oh, I found about a domestic partnership visa that we could get, and this was in the early stages when we were talking about if I should stay or not. And apparently one of the requirements, the prerequisites, if you will, for this domestic partnership visa was for there to be no existing marriage. Now he knew that he was married. I did not know that. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good visa to get. You know, it's nothing that I gotta commit to for life, like marrying you, that's ridiculous. So okay, yeah, we can do that. But he knew that we were not gonna be able to get that. He just told me that to get me to come. I don't know what his plan was, his end game was. Like, did he really think that I would never find out about this? Did he think that appearing in my videos but making sure no one knew his actual name meant that I would never find out? I don't know how his wife found me, but she found me, and I'm grateful that she did, even though it wasn't for me, it was to ruin him. So like I said, in the summertime, he was in Tokyo, I was in Jeju. It was the first time we spent even a single day apart. While I was editing, I did remember there was one very important thing that did happen over the summer that I forgot to mention, so I'm gonna put it here. One day, he texted me and asked me if I heard about attachment types and said there were 4 styles, 4 types, and he asked me to take the test to find out mine. He told me his attachment type was anxious, and I told him, oh, okay, I'll take this, and I found out mine was secure. And the stars aligned and everything just made so much more sense all of a sudden. We fought about me not giving him enough attention. We fought about me not saying what I should be saying to support him or acting the way I should act to support him. He used to tell me that like I never give him compliments. If I didn't give him a compliment when he wanted it and when he expected it, I never gave him compliments. And what made that so frustrating is early on we were talking about long distance relationships and past relationships and stuff. The reason I told him I would never ever do a long distance relationship is because I can't do long distance relationships. My love language is quality time. If I'm not spending time with you, if I'm not seeing you and holding you and in your presence and hanging out with you, then out of sight, out of mind. I don't want to be that way. I don't choose to be that way. I don't know why I am that way, but that is the way that I am. Whenever we talked about the potential of this being long distance, I was like, yeah, that's not gonna work out. Like, both of my best relationships ever, and I was on a streak before I met this dude. Like, I had a good one finishing uni. I had a good one in Korea. Like, I was on a streak of dating really good guys, and then he fucked up the streak. Like, I told him how long distances would ruin those relationships. Like, I just become more distant. I become more cold. What frustrated me is because he knew that this is how it would be. I told him, I gave him a heads up. He's like, yeah, I'm sure we can get past it. No, we're just not good for each other. Like, I'm the type of person where I cannot talk to you or see you for weeks and months, and as soon as we meet up again, it's like we were never apart. That's just how I am. Like, Aaron and Bria are still my best friends. We don't really talk every day. We don't even talk every week or every month. But when we're in person, it's just giggly girl time. Oh my God, girl, I miss you so much, you crazy bitch. That's just how I am. That's how I've always been. And I kept telling myself that through all this BS through the summer, I was like, it's gonna be worth it because once I see him, things will go back to normal.
That is not correct.
So yeah, the summer was basically us fighting. We fought about his kid even because we would talk about the future as if we actually had a chance at having one. But I would bring up his daughter all the time. Like, I wish I knew more about her. You never talk about her. You never go see her. And I could tell he felt guilty. Like, oh, would you say I'm a bad dad? I was like, look, because we talked about my hesitancy, I guess, about ever having a kid with him, because I said, you know, God forbid we broke up and you became this distant with our kid too. He's like, is that really what you think of me? I'm like, all I have is all to go by is what I see. Like, am I crazy for thinking that based on how you treat your current existing child that you never see or talk about? Like, I remember when I first asked him, like, he was first confessing everything about what, you know, was just caught and revealed. He told me that, yeah, once this divorce is finalized, my wife is gonna have to go back to Japan, and so is our kid because she was born there. I was like, well, what about your daughter? Like, do you still plan to see her or try to see her and get in her life? Because his whole thing is that she refused to ever let him see their daughter, which to me, I'm like, bro, you know where they live. You pay the mortgage, so you know where they are. You have rights. You're the father. You just don't want to put in the effort to go and see your kid, and you blame it on her not letting you see her. It's different when you don't know where they are. Like, you know where they are, and it wasn't far from us either. That's the crazy thing. So his whole hope was one day when his daughter was old enough, she'd reach out to him and they could connect that way. And before I even found out about him being a dad, I told, you know, we talked about our families, like we were getting to know each other, and I told him how my youngest half-sister, me and her did a video in 2019. It was a Boy with Love reaction video, and she was born in 2005. We didn't even know that she was a thing until she was born. Like, we was like, wait, I have another sister? So I met her once when she was a baby. She used my sister as like a pawn, and I hate when women do that with kids and stuff. But she said, like, if you don't work this out with me, you're never gonna see your daughter again, and that's what she meant. So there was one time where we were able to see her in 2008 when my uncle was able to pick her up and bring her to a funeral, and I saw her when she was like 2 or 3. And then I didn't see her again until 2016, and that's because I was watching a lot of Catfish, and I found out how to find her because through the years, I messaged her mom and her family on Facebook. I was like, hey, I really want to see my little sister, and she ignored me. So I found like a Yellow Books or Yellow Pages trick, and I was able to do that, and I found my little sister's mom's husband, like a stepdad. And I was like, this is gonna sound so weird. I don't want to be intrusive. I'm just trying to get in touch with my sister. And then suddenly she wanted to reach out to me. I was like, hey Isis, how you been? And I was able to see my sister, and she was back in our lives. But up until then, we did not get to see her or talk to her. And when I talked to my sister, she told me that she grew up thinking that our side of the family and our dad wanted nothing to do with her. And I told him about this and how that hurt all of us before I even knew that he had a daughter he wasn't seeing or whose life he wasn't a part of. So for him to then tell me that his whole plan was to, yeah, when she's old enough, she'll reach out to me, was very dismissive. And again, so many red flags. I acknowledge I was very stupid, y'all. He had so many chances to tell me about this. Like, I even told him about how my mom had a boyfriend who hid his son from us. And this was before I knew he was hiding a kid from me. But anyway, yeah, we fought all the time. So this summer was just not good for either of us. So we went to Thailand because that was supposed to be like our reunion trip. And even that trip was very messy because I had always wanted to go to Thailand, and I said, from where I'm at in Korea, it's super cheap. I can take it's up to cheap in Thailand just in general. But I was like, I can go solo trip if I need to. And he's like, no, I'll find a way to go with you too, even though he told me how financially tight he was. So he bought a one-way ticket with me and said that when he got paid again, he'd buy his ticket back home. And I was just like, dude, what? Like, on the trip, he's asking me like, oh, can you cover this for me? Can you? I'm like, dude, I did not budget. Like, oh my God. So yeah, anyway, we got back to London. We broke up in October. I really don't want to make this video like a remake of the breakup video. So if you really want to see all the details, check out this one up here. We moved back in together. Things did not go according to plan. I was living with him for like 2 or 3 days before I moved out again because we broke up. Like, even when I said we should break up, he agreed. He did not put up a fight. He was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So I just packed things up and left again. Obviously, when you meet someone for the first time, you try to put on your best front. But I just felt like the way he was so different from when I first met him to when we broke up was just 2 different people. And that's the thing that scares me about Geminis. I will never again date a Gemini, by the way. My 2 worst relationships were both Geminis. Literally, same birth year, same birth month, just like 6 days apart in age. The first one, I made a video about him too. I dated him in college. He was this crazy Russian dude, and he used to threaten me with like suicide if I ever broke up with him. He dumped me on Valentine's Day because I wouldn't sleep with him. Like, he knew I was a virgin. He was like, yeah, I can wait, it's totally fine. But yeah, so that video's up here. And then this dude, I will never again date another Gemini. And I told myself after the Russian dude I would never date a Gemini. This just reinforces that. Nothing against y'all, y'all just not for me. But yeah, to me, suddenly he was very insecure, which I don't have a problem with insecurity. But when you project that, that's when it becomes a problem. He was very dishonest and a bit delusional, might I add, because when we broke up, he said, I got 2 questions for you. 1, what did you get me for my birthday? Or did you get me anything for my birthday? And 2, why didn't you say anything for our anniversary? So I told y'all what happened on my birthday, right? He didn't get me anything for my birthday. He paid for the O2 thing, but other than that, my birthday was my treat for us. Like, he didn't get me anything. My response, I said, I got you nothing. What did you get me for my birthday? And he's like, I'm sure I got you that pendant. I was like, what pendant? So I showed him my bracelet and was like, please point out the one you got me for my birthday. He pointed to this one, and this is the one my mommy sent me for my birthday. Now, the reason I didn't get him anything for his birthday is because I had just got to Korea. He had just got to Japan. That wasn't a cheap trip. We talked and I called him and I said happy birthday, and I think I made like a compilation video that I put on Instagram, and I was like, oh, happy birthday, my love. I did not do anything. I did not put out any effort or gesture in any way. I just didn't get him an actual physical gift, which he didn't get me an actual physical gift either. So I don't know why he brought that up. The second thing was he said, why didn't you say anything on our anniversary? And for a split second, he had me sitting there like, I didn't say anything for our anniversary? So I went back and looked through the threads of our text messages, and I absolutely said happy anniversary, and hopefully next year we'll actually be in person together, because after Thailand, instead of coming straight to London to apartment hunt because we were homeless at the time, he decided to go to Turkey and hang out with a friend first. So he was in Turkey for our anniversary and I was in the UK staying with my friend until we could find an apartment. So I don't know what point he was trying to prove there. It's like, I think because I didn't say exactly what he wanted me to say, he said I didn't say anything. So honestly, all of this happening the moment I was packing to leave just made the breakup so much easier. And on top of that, while I was packing, he played this Plain White Tee song. It's like, hate is a strong word, but I really, really, really don't like you. I used to like that song in high school. But I'm just sitting there cracking up. I was just like, dude, you're such a child. Like, I thought older guys were supposed to be like the more mature ones. Typically, I date younger guys. He was one of the only 2 older boyfriends I had, and maybe I don't like to date older guys, and this is why, I guess. Maybe there's more baggage, toxicity, manipulation. Maybe they manipulate me when they're older. I don't know what it is, but I don't like to date older guys. I don't like to date Geminis. Bars.
I'm at your door like a ding dong. I serve you like ping pong.
So of course, when we broke up, I did cry because I was like, wow, a year of all this stress and drama, a year of everything. I tried to make this work. I tried everything to make this work. And you know, I did love him, and I know he did love me. There was a lot of good times and also a lot of bad times. So yeah, I did cry. But at the same time, I felt like I was holding my breath for the past like 6 months of our relationship, and when we broke up, I finally got to just exhale. It just felt like such a relief that it was finally over. He made me feel anxious. Like, with every text that I sent him, I was very anxious because I didn't know how he would take it. I didn't know if it was going to start a fight. I was walking on eggshells in a relationship with him, especially in the last 6 months of our relationship. That was actually my parting words with him. I was like, make sure for the next girl that you date, you tell her about your situation. Don't hide this from her, because I don't know how you ever thought that was going to work out. First off, I know I am not perfect. I am a petty queen. But I'm not petty for no reason. Like, I'm petty if you deserve it. I can be cold I can be the most affectionate and loving person. I have like a strong belief of matching the energy I'm given. If you are great, honest, genuine with me, that is the same way I'm gonna be with you. If you manipulate, if you disrespect me, that's exactly what I'm gonna do to you. All the time he brought up like, oh, you know, when we first met, you used to be like this and used to be this so sweet and everything. I'm like, yeah, and you used to not be a married dad, so shit happens. My biggest mistake, my biggest regret is staying and talking myself into believing that I could somehow get past this and that we will work out in a relationship. It was very clear that that was never gonna happen. So now a year later, what have I learned? First of all, 2022 was just in general the worst year of my life. Not only was my channel very stagnant and just not growing as much, I had fewer views than ever, fewer subscribers than ever. It was incredibly stressful. There was a lot of questions I had. I was in a very unstable situation where I'm like, am I gonna be able to legally stay here? Now I gotta go to this country for a few months to buy time while you look for a place to stay. It was just, oh my God. It's very emotional and very stressful. Did I say stressful? Because I really mean stressful. On my channel, I got demonetized for like the whole month of July. Teamy Blends, I had a nice sweet 6-month contract with them and they just stopped paying me mid-contract. And then on top of that, my AdSense had expired. So like I started my YouTube channel when I was in Korea. Like I started monetizing while I was in Korea. So because I wasn't in Korea anymore and I didn't have, what is it called? The foreign card, foreign identity card, I forgot what it's called. But because I didn't have that card anymore, I couldn't have a Korean bank account. I had to make a whole new AdSense account and that took months to verify. So there was a lot of months where I just straight up wasn't even getting paid. In contrast to 2023, oh my God, this year has been amazing. This year I went to Jamaica with my family. I went to Amsterdam. This month alone, I went to Ireland and Italy. I've been living in this address for a year, which is the longest I've lived in one place since I was in Korea in 2018. And I am having fun going on dates and stuff, but dating is not something I'm really prioritizing because I'm not planning to be here, so I'm not trying to start nothing serious. But it is fun to like flirt and get out there and be told I'm pretty and all that stuff. Dating apps suck, so I'm working on like flirting with people in person. So like if I see a cute guy staring at me, I'll just like do like a little smile back. I'm working on my Riz. Basically, I'm just trying to do main character shit. I don't know why, but apparently I have a new boyfriend every 3 years. 2015, 2018, 2021. So I'm due next year in 2024. One thing I do like is a lot of people were saying that the reason this year is so amazing for me is because I turned 30, and like when you turn 30, things just change, you change, everything's just better. And so far, I think that might be true. I'm making content that you guys seem to really enjoy, like the growth I've had this year. I'm better off financially. I'm around people that I love and appreciate me, and everything's just good. I'm excited about life. There's nothing holding me down, weighing me down, holding me back. Early next year, I am finally going back to Korea. I finally want to go back to Japan. And no, dating him did not ruin Japan for me. Japan, I'm sure, is still a great place. Fuck him though. I went to Japan in like 2017. I wasn't a YouTuber, so I didn't get to vlog or document anything, and I've been dying to go back ever since. And I've always wanted to go to Taiwan, and I'm planning to make that happen next year. I am done being a therapist for a man. I have this never settle, no nonsense mentality now. Like there are a lot of people out there who make it seem like women do too much and are asking for too much when we have standards. When we don't accept mistreatment and accept BS, we're doing the most. Like we're just unreasonable and, you know, we're high maintenance. People make it seem like it's better to be married or in a relationship, even if that means you're not happy. Like why is being single demonized? I kept telling myself like no matter how bad it was, well at least I'm not single. And I kept saying like Isis, oh, do you really want to go back into that dating pool? You don't want to go back into dating. So I kept telling myself I should stay. I don't ask for much from men. Just be genuine, be honest, and have your shit together. That's all I need. So now to the fun part of this video, the response to all the backlash. So for the most part, people were like, oh my God, Isis, I'm sorry that you were going through that. But there were also hella comments where girls were blaming me. I did find that interesting, but I did not find that at all surprising. I was called a homewrecker, a mistress, a stupid side chick, like all that by other girls. I know it was dumb to stay, but I was in love. Like that was the whole reason I was telling y'all about this. Like, look, I'm dumb, but this is what I've been dealing with the past year. It's just funny that like people were saying I'm a homewrecker and a mistress. They were not together. Like just because they were married does not mean they were together. They hated each other. The text messages I saw made that very clear. She changed the locks and kicked him out months before we got together. That's why he was living at a little like flat share near my hotel. They did not talk. They did not see each other. They hated each other. She was trying to drag this out and make him as miserable as possible. I saw the text messages. I was blamed for his decisions and his actions somehow by some people in the comments. And honestly, those comments made me laugh because I'm not at all surprised by that. Like that's the default, the patriarchal standard. Like it's like autopilot. We're always conditioned to believe it's a woman's fault, you know? Everything is somehow our fault. They said it in Barbie.
And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault.
People will search high and search low to find a reason to blame it on the girl, blame it on the woman. It's her fault. What I did find interesting was it was girls blaming me, not guys. Like the guys who found out about this, they're like, what an asshole, oh my god, fuck that dude. But it's girls who were like, oh yeah, but you're dumb for staying, you're dumb for going back, it's your fault, you chose to stay, you're the mistress, this is on you.
Really, nigga?
I've always strived on being like a girl's girl, very much to my own detriment sometimes, because even when the ex came and told me everything, I thought she was doing it for me. I was like, thank you, girl, like, good looking out. And I wanted to talk to her. I wanted to hear this from her mouth, because of course, when you're caught in this situation, like, oh, damn, I just got caught lying to my current girlfriend about my past relationship and my kid. Of course, you're gonna make it seem like she was the worst person ever. She was crazy. She was this evil bitch and she was a demon. That's easy to do when you're in a situation. I wanted to hear from her because you loved her enough to marry her and have a kid with her, you know? So obviously she wasn't all bad. Men love to make it seem like women wake up and choose crazy. We become crazy when we're lied to, when we're manipulated, abused, etc. Like I remember as a kid, my parents got married in like 97, but then they got separated like 98 or 99. And they lived in separate states, separate relationships, separate households, everything. But they stayed married until like 2017 because my dad remarried eventually. And for them, it was just more convenient to stay married on paper. Same with my grandparents. In 2019, they decided to separate, but they have no plans to divorce. They live in separate states, separate households. Divorcing is not simple. You know, it costs a lot of money, it's lengthy, it takes a lot. So I understand that people stay married even when they're not in a relationship. But in this case, the divorce was already filed. By a lot of, you know, the comments that were in that video, you're saying that someone should not date other people until the divorce is final. Divorces can take years and years to finalize. I never blamed her for any of this. Like again, I thought she was looking out for me. I thought she was trying to warn me, like, by the way, he's married. Look, here's us with our kid. But no, she, according to those text messages, she wanted to make him miserable. She wanted to ruin everything he had going for him. Even to this day, the only two problems I have with her was her unwillingness to communicate with me or him in a calm, normal manner for the sake of their kid, for the sake of getting this over with. But two, I called her a stalker because not only did she message me through several different Instagram accounts, she messaged one of my friends about our relationship too. She messaged his work and she messaged his family. Who does that? She wouldn't talk to me, but she would talk about me. That's where I had a problem. I wanted to hear from her directly. I was the youngest in this situation, by the way. Like, he's a year older than me and then she's a year older than him. So I was the youngest. I was trying to be the mediator. I was like, look, this is y'all drama. I am reluctantly thrown into the middle of this. Why can't y'all just talk about this? Like, y'all have a kid together, think about your kid. This poor child is the only one in this situation that can't make their own decisions, and they're gonna suffer from this. I was especially trying to be on good terms with her because as much as I never wanted to be a stepmom, and I told him from the jump I did not want to be a stepmom, I was trying to come to terms with the fact that he has a kid. So if this relationship's gonna work out, I'm going to be a stepmom. I wanted to be on good terms with his soon-to-be ex-wife, but forever baby mama. She was not having it. She would not talk to me. My problem was always with him, and I made that clear from jump. Because like I said, it's so easy to be like, oh, she was crazy, she did this. The way he painted her when he was like, yeah, so the reason we broke up is because he made it seem like she was a materialistic, gold digger, bad mom, distant, cold, mean girlfriend, eventual wife. And again, I'm like, but dude, you chose to marry her, so obviously she's not that bad. She can't be all that bad. So I wanted to talk to her, and I was like, what did you do to make her this way? Because like I said, women don't just wake up and choose crazy. So like, you had to have lied to her, broken promises, or cheated, something. Like, there's got to be something that made her this way, you know what I mean? Because you loved her enough to marry her, so unless you chose to marry a crazy person, then you're crazy too. Like, of course to him, I'm the bad guy, and of course to me, he's the bad guy. Duh. And he did message me after that video came out and was like, oh, you know, I feel really disappointed or upset that you chose to share our private relationship with everybody. I was like, look, dude, back when I first found this out and I wanted to tell everybody, I chose to protect your feelings because, yeah, this was your personal business or whatever. But when it affects my life too, I think I have every right to talk about it as well. I never told y'all his name. Y'all don't know where he works, where he lives. Y'all don't know anything about him that could reveal his personal information, his social medias, never doxed, nothing like that. So like, what is the harm that I can talk about? This changed my life too, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody, if you're ever in a situation or relationship where you feel unappreciated, unheard, manipulated and gaslit, lied to, abused, everything that makes you feel like this is a bad person, do not stay. Leave, run.
He ain't worth it. He ain't worth it.
Like, no matter how much I try to see his side of this, there's nothing I can think of that would justify hiding this from me for so long, because ultimately it was going to lead to the end of this relationship. It's like he was just trying to put it off for as long as possible, play house, have his cake and eat it too, and then when shit hit the fan, and we go our separate ways. That's the way I see it. So as an Aries, my favorite thing about myself is my ability to just cut you off. I have a very good ability to just move on. Like, I went on my first date a month after we broke up, or 2 weeks. So anyway, this is what it looks like when you finally leave a toxic relationship. And again, when I talked to my friend about her bad breakup and her finding comfort watching that video I did about my breakup, really meant a lot to me. So I was like, you know what, let me talk about this a little bit more. And it is the 1-year anniversary of me being free. Quick reminder, please turn on the notifications so you can see the next upload. It's gonna be a story time involving a certain Korean fuckboy rapper. And binge my videos that are about to pop up on the end screen. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Annyeong!